Okay, so cool. We're at 2:45. This is going to be like a little bit of a, just a brief, fun little chat with the four of us. I'll just introduce myself. I'm Lisa Danbro. I'm a not saying anymore after that. I am a realtor salesperson with Coldwell Banker in Maplewood, New Jersey. I'm here with my partner and not again, I'll scratch that. My partner, Carla LaBianca, who is involved with me, co-producer of the Resource Home Show. And we thought we'd take the opportunity to gather some amazing professionals in the fields of renovation, restoration, home design trends, and as they relate to our lives and the biggest investments of our worlds, really, our homes. Today we're going to be discussing kitchen renovation, refresh, or improvements for home sale or otherwise, just for our lives. It's a big subject and can be quite overwhelming, and there are so many ways of going into the subject. But before we do that, why don't you guys introduce yourselves and say a little bit about yourselves?
I'm Carla LaBianca. I'm one half Danbro LaBianca. Lisa just gave me a lovely introduction. So I am a realtor salesperson with Coldwell Banker here in the Maplewood area and a trade show producer along with Lisa as well of the Resource Home Show. We're coming back on October 11th. Fingers crossed for that, and nothing gets too messed up in light of COVID. So keep your eyes and ears open for registration. And I'll toss it to Sarah G, who's in the square below me, Brady Bunch style.
Oh boy. Hi, I'm Sarah G. And I'm an interior stylist here in Maplewood, New Jersey. I've participated in the Resource Home Show for both years, and I'm really excited to talk about all things design. Nareed?
Hi, well, I'm really excited to be here with Lisa, Carla, and Sarah. My name is Nareed Saeed. I'm the owner and creative director of New Interiors, an interior design firm bi-coastal based in New Jersey, New York, as well as in the Bay Area, California. I focus primarily on kitchens and bathrooms and large home scale renovations, large construction projects.
Okay, and so without further ado, let's jump in.
Yeah, we've got three great representatives, and we thought we'd focus on the tiers of home renovation, kitchen renovation, actually. So we have Sarah G, who's going to be speaking a little bit about kitchen refreshes, a little bit more bite-sized projects that for different stages of life and circumstances. We've got Nareed, who's going to address more thorough, comprehensive, and full kitchen renovations that might include construction, moving walls, and such. And Carla's going to comment on the aspect of improvement in your kitchen that might help your home sale. So I'm going to open the floor up to Sarah first to talk about the populations that might benefit most from a refresh as opposed to a full-blown renovation of a kitchen.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't specialize in kitchens whatsoever. That's its own thing. Nareed is all over that. She loves it. It's not my jam. I am much more into more cosmetic upgrades that will help you make your current situation work for you for the next few years until either you can afford your dream renovation or, just maybe the kitchen's basically fine, you just hate it because the cabinetry is ugly or, whatever reason. There's so many reasons we can hate our kitchens. Some easy fixes, easy upgrades are swapping out things like countertops. That's a pretty dramatic one. It's not cheap, but it really can change the look of your entire room. Light fixtures, changing lighting in any room can instantly change the feel of the entire space. It's a really easy way, fairly inexpensive way to really upgrade a room. Another pretty easy thing to do is to paint your cabinetry. If it's in good shape, it works well for you. That is another thing that's not cheap. It really is better to have it done by a professional because kitchen cabinetry gets a lot of use from all sorts of ages in our family. Kids throw stuff at it and we kick it. It's easy to scratch. And then, you know, things like swapping out fixtures and the cabinet hardware can really, really change a space. Even something like adding a window treatment. People often don't think of window treatments for their kitchen, but it can really make a sparse room feel layered and adds color and texture, and that can really change your room.
And so the populations or circumstances of a kitchen refresh, whether it's doing all of these things or minimizing them to even just a few, would be, say, what, like first-time home buyers maybe who just want to move in and put their own stamp on a kitchen, or, you know, who are your clients who come to you for more modified ideas for kitchens and refresh?
Yeah, it's people who, you know, this is their first house. They don't know how they live in a space. They don't have the money. They just bought a house. They don't have the money to devote to a full kitchen renovation. Also, people who have young kids who their money is focused elsewhere. They're paying for childcare. They're saving for college, that kind of thing. Doing a refresh can really make you love your kitchen where before you never wanted to go in it. I'm actually in the process of doing one now. It's going to hopefully get me over the hump until we can do our, you know, huge renovation. But
and I imagine if you have young kids, it's more practical to think in these ways because the kids kind of can take their toll on our surroundings. So
yes,
maybe
they can. Yeah. It also, a lot of times, just as an example, when I first moved into this house that I live in 8 years ago, the kitchen is very bare bones. It was never touched, which is one of the things that really drew me to the house. I could put my own stamp on it, but there is not a single upper cabinet in the entire room. There are two 11-inch wide base cabinets. There's a small pantry up so it can function. But when we first moved in, I had one very specific idea of what I would do to the kitchen. And now, 8 years later, I know exactly how I live in the house, how my family lives in the house, how we use the room, and how we would like it to change to make the functionality better, as well as the aesthetics. And what I plan to do in however many years is vastly different and a lot more expensive than any renovation that I would have planned after living here for 1 year, or even having just moved in.
So it's really about logistics as well as budget. It's not only a budget thing. It's like, let's see how this goes and what we really need. So next, I'm going to invite Nureed to comment on really the same thing. What populations or conditions or circumstances or stages of life might accommodate or be more appropriate to consider a full-blown kitchen renovation?
Well, I think there's a couple of things people have to ask themselves. I think, you know, if you have the funds available to do the renovation and you have the wherewithal to do it, then, you know, you can make it work. And I've done renovations for folks who have had small children, who have been pregnant, who have gone all the way up until almost being retired. So it really, you know, the stage of life, there are certain stages where it's definitely more complicated than others. I have just gone through another renovation with my 3 small children. And in this instance, I was not fortunate enough to have my kitchen done in time for when we moved in, and we lived without a kitchen for about another 6 weeks until the kitchen was done. And it was painful. And you have, and I do this every day, right? So I think that there has to be a real partnership on the part of the contractor and the designer, the architect, and the homeowner to understand the process and what's going to happen. And if the homeowner is up for that and they have the funds for it, then I think anything is possible, obviously within your budget. But once you've made that assessment, I think the main thing to really look at are, is this kitchen completely not functioning for you? So is the flow off? Is the lighting terrible? Is the space terrible? Is the organization, really kind of not congruent to how you cook and live in your kitchen? And do you have enough storage? Those are the functional things that I encourage people to look at. And if you can say many of these things don't work for you, or if even one of these things don't work for you, and it's really creating a strife in your daily life, then it's probably time to do a renovation if you, again, have the funds and the wherewithal. I think another thing people talk about is if it's dated. Dated in terms of design aesthetic is one thing, but another thing is in terms of dated appliances that perhaps aren't safe, and you need to upgrade those and take those precautions and what that means. A lot of the older homes, like for example, my home was built in 1954. It's a mid-century house. The voltage on old appliances versus new appliances, completely different. We had to upgrade our electrical panel in order to do this renovation. And it wasn't as simple as, can I just change out my appliances? So once you start going down that road and you're opening up walls to change wiring and upgrade electrical, at that point, it's probably more worth it to you to not just cosmetically change some appliances, but to actually renovate your home. And the last thing I always talk to people about is the kitchen a danger? Is it damaged? Or are there structural issues? So again, I'll use my kitchen, for example. I wanted to open up one corner of the kitchen just to get a sense of a little bit of a better flow, because it was it kind of looked like a Tetris, the way it was laid out. So once we opened up this one corner, we found an asbestos lined air duct. Now, I didn't know it was there before we started the renovation. We just go through the process. And obviously for safety purposes, it's better to remove it than not. And so that becomes a point of, is that extra cost to remediate, which in my case in California was about $800. Is it worth it? And it absolutely is. And so those are the things I talk to my clients about. There's a real nitty gritty of why are we doing this and the cost benefit analysis.
Great. Okay. That's great. Carla, can you speak briefly on ROI in terms of if you're putting your home on the market? Yeah. We're talking about a totally different category than either of these.
Yeah, and you know what, I would be happy to. I also have some comments. I think the two designers here have made some great points, and I'd like to point out some of them. The one thing, and we can do this later on in the conversation, is I'd love to get the price of what it costs to do a Nareed type renovation versus what it costs to do a cosmetic renovation that Sarah G speaks of. I think that people need a realistic idea as to what it costs, and I think that would be super helpful. So we can talk about that in a few minutes. The bit about asbestos removal, I think in some towns, particularly where we practice in the state of New Jersey, you would be required to remove that asbestos or any other kind of material that could be a hazard. And so, that would just be something that I think, we always tell our clients, that's buffer in 10 to 20% additional padding to help with situations like that will come up. And trust me, they will come up. You guys know, you ladies, you know that. I also think that it's interesting, to discuss, well, should we do the renovation or should we move? And so that's what I would like to concentrate a little bit on. Good real estate 101 tells us that it's probably just better to move. Put a cosmetic facelift on your house, do what you need to do in order to get that house sold for top dollar. but then move into a house that already has that done. And that's because of ROI, right? You're gonna do better if you sell your property versus renovating it. That's the very easy way to discuss this kind of topic. But what we want to be careful to remember is that people love their homes. And if you want to stay in your home, you should look at one of the two options that we've given you here today, the cosmetic version that will get you through the next 7 years to a decade, or the major home renovation that's going to make you love your home and stay in it longer. Perhaps your home is in a fabulous location. And as we say in real estate, it's all about location, location, location. And if you think that you're going to be in your house, or you're going to stay in your house for another few years, continue to raise your kids there, and also, because it's close to town, or because it's close to a transport hub, those are all reasons to consider staying. So love it or leave it. That's always a question that we get from clients. What else can I tell you about this?
This is its own, really such a chunky subject, and I definitely think it deserves its own chat session.
Yeah.
But I think right now we're going to move on to the second concept of wish list versus must-have for your life. And we covered a little bit of this territory in what we've already, discussed. But Sarah, just would love for you to talk a little bit about the idea of really working with what you can work with in your kitchen, and then going to the things that identifying the things you absolutely can't. And that obviously will be cost beneficial as well, because if you start with that framework of, I'm going to sustain, I'm going to maintain, I'm going to, keep and not trash what I already have, that's important. So if you could talk a little bit about, the haves versus must-haves versus wish list in your realm of the refresh.
Sure, absolutely. I think that a lot of times people, they say things like, I hate my kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I hate my kitchen. I hate my kitchen. Mm-hmm. And when you sit down with them and really have them list the reasons why, if it's something as simple as, the 90s countertops make me, crazy. They always look dirty. My stove doesn't work for me. The kitchen faucet's always coming loose. I hate the orange wood of the cabinetry. Things like that say to me, we can get this done with, a cosmetic update. When people start saying things like, there's no place to store anything, and that is assuming there are no other options to add storage to the room. The refrigerator is, in the wrong place. The sink is too small. Things that that really speak to the functionality of the space. That's a bigger deal. That's when I send somebody to Nareed. That's not a cosmetic update.
Right. And so Nareed, give your take on wish list versus must-haves in the world of creating more functionality and, endeavoring towards a bigger project that you're going to commit to, and that you also need to know is going to disrupt your life more. So, you have some must-have questions that you frequently ask clients. Maybe you could review, to determine whether it's a must-have or a wish list item. What are those?
Well, the most common must-haves I hear from folks are that the move to open concept, that people want to take down all their walls, and that they absolutely need to do it. And I think that it's not always cost effective, and it's not always to their benefit. So what I ask people is, what's the reason you really want to open it? Is it because you saw it in a catalog, or you used to live in a loft in New York City or in San Francisco, and so you feel that you want to have that feeling in this home? Or is there a real more functional reason? Meaning it's a really dark kitchen. I want to open up this wall so I can get some of the light from the other room in, for example. it's a really small kitchen. And if I just had this wall removed, I could put a big island and I could get more storage and my flow would be better. I have small children. If I could just open up a part of this wall, I could see into my living room or my family room, and I could watch my children playing while I'm in the kitchen doing my work. So I think that there's some functional, legitimate reasons for doing it. And I think there are some kind of really just aspirational wish ideas to do it. And I try to encourage folks to really do it for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I also try and encourage folks to think about the house. I would never open up a wall completely in Carla's house, which is this amazing Victorian in Maplewood, New Jersey. However, when I did live in New Jersey, and I lived, funny enough, in another 1954 mid-century ranch, I opened up the wall completely between the dining room and the living room and created this giant open space. Now I'm in California, where you would think modern open concept, definitely. And I came into this space and was like, nope, I actually don't want to do that. I want to leave my kitchen a little bit more enclosed. I want to have a little bit more division of space. And the reason is that houses are smaller here in California. And I actually don't want to feel like I'm on top of my family all the time when I don't have as much space. I like going to a separate space in the house. And if I were my client, I would never have encouraged someone to open up a wall in this house, for example. So I think it really is an interesting conversation of people believe it's a must-have, but sometimes it's really just a wish list. That's one for sure. I hear all the time. I hear people asking all the time that they want to have a totally custom kitchen. I want to have a builder come in and make me a totally custom kitchen. I saw one, and a lot of times people don't know the difference in cabinetry, and we could spend hours talking about cabinetry. But I think, funny enough, many of my renovations are done with a semi-custom product that gives you a customized look, but not at a customized price. And these are the things that I try and weigh with folks. So they think it's a must-have, but in the end, it's really not. It's more a wish list of what they want it to look like. And the last thing I hear from so many folks is I need to have a full pantry, like a walk-in closet type pantry, or a pantry I can open up as a closet. And the reality is, layouts are awkward. There's never enough space, even in the largest of kitchens, to fit the refrigerator, the stove, the microwave, all of the components that you need. And then to put a space for an actual walk-in pantry, it's very rare that you get to find that space, as particularly in a lot of the older homes that you find in that area of New Jersey that you all are living in and that I'm so familiar with. So what I try to tell folks is can we get you a wall of cabinet pantries, floor to ceiling? Can we put a spice rack next to your stove? Can a Lazy Susan do the same job as a pantry? And sorry guys, those start becoming questions of cabinet function and storage. And I basically challenge people to think about what they really have and almost think about a pantry like they would think about their own closet. If you're going to go to California Closets and get it done, they literally ask you, how many shoes do you have? How many coats do you have? And that's how they come up with the components of what closet organization looks like. And I essentially do the same thing. I ask folks, how much do you really have? How many pots and pans? What do you really cook? When do you cook? How do you cook? Do you cook together? And I go through a list of, like, I would say somewhere between 50 and 75 questions. I have a questionnaire I give clients, and we go through all of these in order to get to it. And it helps people understand that their wish list is not actually, or their must-haves are actually more closer to a wish list.
So it sounds like the theme in all of what you're saying, everyone is saying the same thing. It's about helping your client focus in and edit and be discerning and hone in on truly what is important, chipping away sort of at a block that they think the block, the stone is we want renovation. And then you kind of chisel and you form what it is that they really want and need. So it's really, in a way, it sounds like almost a process of elimination, going from a big, overwhelming realm to kind of honing in, whether it's on the grander scale like you do, Nureed, or Refresh that helps people feel like they love their space again, with less work and commitment and financial burden. Or not burden, but monetary, issues. Finally, I just want to wrap up with you guys just sort of doing stream of consciousness thoughts, and without talking over each other, but like just, not formatted as much, of what sort of trends we see upcoming in kitchen renovations and design trends for the kitchen with regards to colors, cabinets, countertops, technology that might be integrated, in the future. Anything that comes to your mind that you're seeing and that you think will be, becoming more of a thing in the future of home renovation, restoration in the kitchen.
I definitely think open concept is on its way out, or on its way into a much more discerning use. Whereas I think everybody thought they needed it no matter what their house was. Now I think people are realizing there are a lot of good reasons to keep your kitchen a little enclosed.
Agreed.
Like when you have to quarantine with your family for
Mm-hmm.
right?
100%.
We all have our personal space, and when you knock down those walls,
Not yours.
Or when you're
right.
quarantining and you don't have as much time to do all your dishes first thing in the morning, and there they are piled up in your sink. And
Yeah.
luckily there's no one here to see it. But if we were choosing to webinar in my kitchen, I would be embarrassed.
Yeah, because I don't know about you all, but the dishwasher's constantly running,
yes,
and therefore the sink is piled with dishes and
in a post quarantine world where I hope that I will be sitting with the four of you in a room together in the upcoming months, I would say not a single one of us, as much as we all know each other and like each other, want to have the other person see our dirty dishes piled up, right? So that's what I tell my clients. Are you very clean, or are you not? Are you really crazy, or are you not? Because I would say I am super crazy, and that's why my kitchen always looked the way it did in New Jersey, because I'm just like constantly cleaning my countertops, cleaning my dishes, putting everything away. It's not normal. My husband loves to tell me how not normal it is.
to say nothing of the sound, right? I mean, again, you take down walls and the clanging of pots and pans and putting things away, it interrupts people watching TV in the next space, right? So,
or children playing, and being
That's
loud
right.
with one another.
Or if you have pets, honestly, I think about, the echo that would be in my previous home had there been pets in it.
That's right. Well, I applaud you, Nareed, for bringing up the open concept idea. I think it's great for some spaces, for sure. We don't want to say that it's not, but I think that we really need to do more thinking about that.
I think, again, it goes back to really talking to your client about, yes, you say you want open concept. What does that mean to you? What is the feeling that you're trying to get from this open concept? Because it may not be open concept. Maybe they just need a place for family to hang out inside the kitchen. Maybe, they have very, very small kids and they just need a little spot for kids to play while they're, you're making dinner. You don't need to make a dramatic life choice based on what is essentially a phase, because kids do grow. They don't always want to be at your feet. So it's trying to differentiate your immediate wants from your overarching long-term, how you want to live within your house going forward.
That's right. And Sarah, you brought up an amazing point in the beginning of this conversation, which was live in your house first.
Yeah, it's
right?
hard to do sometimes, but it is
hard to do. But Lisa and I always recommend this of our buyers. Live in your house first. We understand that you want to do this, this, and this. It's all very exciting when you first own a home and you have all of these grand ideas, but you really need to know how you fit and slip into spaces and how your family intends to use those spaces. So,
if you don't have, for whatever reason, you don't feel you can live through that renovation in the future and you just need to do it, hire professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hire professionals. Don't think that you're going to do this on your own when you haven't even lived through the space and you don't actually have the skill set to plan for the space appropriately. Yeah. I think that's my number one call out to folks, is to use a professional if you're not, particularly if you haven't lived in the space.
Yeah. Ladies, can you address the price points of your two ideas?
Sure. For me, it could be anywhere from a few $1,000 for some new hardware and maybe painting the walls. You know, a new kitchen runner can really brighten up a space, to about, you know, if you want to do paint the cabinetry, swap out the countertops, that kind of thing, around 10 grand.
Okay.
But
Great.
kind of in that, you know, 2 or 3 to 10 range is that I think is money worth spent on purely cosmetic things. When you start spending more, then you kind of have to, you know, weigh your options and decide if this is really a refresh that you're doing, or if you are really, really wanting to do more of a renovation.
Got it.
And Nareed, what would you, in a nutshell, I know it's hard to say because of all of the finishes and all of this.
Yeah, you know, there's definitely a varying range that I've worked with clients on, and I think it goes from somewhere between 35,000 to upwards of that. You know, I mean, I've spent as much as $150,000 on a kitchen on just the kitchen renovation. So it really depends again on structural walls, level of appliances that folks want, finishes, custom cabinetry, not custom cabinetry. If you want to use IKEA or other kind of mainline brands, we can do it far less expensive. If you're not really removing structure, we can do it far less expensive. If you're not really changing the layout all too much, that is one of the easiest ways to save money, is to keep your layout somewhat similar. So those are really like the quick and dirties on it, but it really could be between 35 and up.
And I feel I need to mention how HGTV has ruined people's realities when it comes to figuring out, like, oh, I'm going to do my kitchen. I'm going to get beautiful new appliances. I'm going to move the sink over here to these pretty windows, and it's going to cost me $25,000, including labor and custom cabinetry. It's going to be amazing. And that's just, I don't understand. I don't know where these numbers come from.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yes,
I find that
I also hear that, like, across the board, open concept, when I asked about design trends, was the thing that everyone ran with, like fewer, that's going to reduce we're going to see a reduction of that likely, even though sometimes it's still going to work. But maybe next time we can talk about, you know, the trends that you see coming.
Cosmetic trends.
Cosmetic and kitchen renovation trends, or we can look at the big picture of trends in the home. But that was really interesting and fantastic information. Super excited for myself because I'm planning to do this over the next year or so. So thank you for me. And I look forward to meeting with you guys again and continuing this conversation of home improvement and how to live best in your home and make the best choices based on all the things we talked about: budget, the reality of the situation of your life, your circumstances, and, you know, make it your best home. So thank you guys.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
For moderating.
So fun.